Hey guys, I don't think anybody's in here for me to say hey guys too. Let me check. Well, X-Ray's here, so time to talk about juggalos. Maybe. But I'm glad you're here, X-Ray. I wasn't sure if anybody was going to be here. Evidently, Abdurrahim was in here real early, putting some message that I couldn't even read, so I just took it off there. I was beginning to think maybe nobody wanted to talk about killer clowns from outer space and Luther the Geek. And maybe they don't. X-Ray, you might be the only one in here tonight. It seemed like there were a couple of people that maybe popped in and out. We got two concurrent viewers, and there have been 4 views on it. So, uh, X-Ray, you say Abner Rahim. You got them Arab fans like the Iron Sheik, maybe. I think they just like to put. I mean, they obviously probably can't understand anything that I'm saying, and so I don't know. I just think they like to spam my channel or my streams. I don't know which is worse, those guys or the ones that put the where you can meet different girls. Hey, Texas, glad to see you in here. I was hoping we'd have a few more people in here because I advertised this one at least, I don't know, 6 days ahead. That's pretty good for me. Um, but I will tell you the movies that we're going to be talking about next week. Um, so you guys will be one up on everybody else. We're going to be talking about Memorial Valley Massacre and Microwave Massacre. So we'll have fun with those. Both have massacre in the title. Actually, say I've never seen the other movie, but I have seen Killer Clowns. I got a funny anecdote about it. Funny to me, anyway. Well, yeah, I definitely want you to share that when we get started talking about the movies. Excuse me. I was eating a sandwich, and I guess I ate it a little too fast before I came on here. Yeah, 2 massacres in one. That's right, Texas. Uh, I was kind of hoping Dirk would be in here tonight because I got a notification that his T-shirt had been delivered. I just wanted to know if he was happy with it or not. Um, but I did want to remind everybody that Saturday I will be about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be doing the Haunted Ween watch along. That'll be right after Steve's stream. Steve will probably start about 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and then following him, I will do the Haunted Ween watch along. There is a link to the YouTube version of it. Keep in mind, if you do have that 20 or 25th anniversary edition, it does have a little extra footage at the beginning. The version on YouTube does not, and that will be the version that I will be watching just because I'm lazy and it's easier for me to do. But just that little notification that if you do have that version, and I should have gotten rid of this napkin before I started because I knocked it off there. Uh, just a little notification. If you are using that version, it does have a few extra seconds of film there at the beginning. So feel free to use the YouTube link. I did not find it on Tubi, so evidently it's not on Tubi or not on Tubi yet, or maybe it was on Tubi for a little while and they've already taken it off. X-Ray, you say, by the way, they announced the Killer Clowns video game today. You and Steve got to play that one. Yeah, that was I would be interested in it. I don't know about Steve. He's kind of funny sometimes about different things, but I will mention it to him definitely. Um, I will tell y'all too. My light's probably not gonna last very long, so the green screen might look a little funky. Um, because Dana forgot to um, charge her lights up, or charge the batteries up rather. So, little housekeeping stuff as usual. You guys that are in here every time I do one of these are probably getting tired of hearing this, but I do have the Deadites on Deck Facebook page, and you can like it if you want to keep abreast of when I'm going to be doing a live stream. Uh, you can also subscribe to my channel, Evil Dead Chick. And that's another way I believe that you can get notified when I'm going to have a stream. Dana forgot to pay the Eastern Kentucky Electric Company. Well, actually, I'm in kind of like central Kentucky right now. I used to live in western Kentucky. And then when Steve and I got married, I moved more toward central Kentucky or north central Kentucky, whatever you want to call it. But my dead pit buddies, hey Clifton, my dead pit buddies are definitely in eastern Kentucky, and some of my other buddies are in eastern Kentucky. So, yeah, I guess we could say that. But so I've got links to the Deadites on Deck Facebook page. I've got links to my YouTube channel. There is a link to my Etsy shop where I'm adding things. I'm trying to add things quite often. And there went that light. We've now got the Blood Lake Little Tony stickers for $2 a piece if you're interested in that. I think I sent Dirk one with his order. X-Ray, you said Dead Pit Crew covers all of Kentucky. Dead Pit Dynasty, right? But there are also, I'm starting to put some t-shirt designs on there. There's a Tenebrae design up there now in case anybody's interested in it. You might want to get your order in so I can go ahead and start getting your shirt ready. Keep in mind, I don't have the most expensive setup, so don't be expecting like Fright Rags quality shirts. I'm also not charging as much as Fright Rags does for their shirts either. But, you know, if you have any suggestions for t-shirt designs, feel free to share those with me. I just kind of started with the Tenebrae one because there was actually somebody, Dirk, that was really interested in getting one and liked the design. And as soon as I got it up there, he ordered his shirt, and he should have gotten it today. Okay. And there is also, I'm still keeping my TeePublic storefront up. So there are a couple of Deadites on Deck designs that you can get on t-shirts or mugs or tumblers or pillows. There's any number of things that, you know, if you don't want to get a t-shirt, you can get the design on something else. Red, you say, quick sound off. What are your favorite 3 clown movies? Now, we're talking about horror clown movies. It would have, the original Stephen King miniseries of It would have to be at the top of the list. And I really like Killer Klowns from Outer Space that I'm going to be talking about tonight. And then there is one that might not be on the top of a lot of people's list. I know it wouldn't be Steve's because I think he thought it was a horrible movie. But there's one called The Clown Murders, an old movie that has John Candy in it. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to check that out. That's pretty cool. And I mean, there's probably, if that's just the ones that just come to mind when you ask that question, Red. Um, of course, you know, if I had had more time to think about it, I'm sure more would come up. Um, and if you think of any that, gee, I wonder why Dana didn't mention this one or that one, it's probably because my brain's probably working, excuse me, on half power. Uh, I shouldn't have ate that sandwich so fast. It was like pastrami turkey, and it's coming back to bite me now. Uh, Texas, you said Fright Rags doesn't have big boy sizes. Ah, gotcha. Uh, but, you know, I will admit that Fright Rags has been around a lot longer than I have, and they do have better quality shirts. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. These aren't that level of quality. They're just the best Dana can do on Dana's budget, which is why I'm not, you know, charging an arm and a leg for them because, yeah, I want to make a little bit of a profit, but I also don't want somebody to break the bank buying these shirts. And you know, I wouldn't want somebody to be disappointed when they get their shirt in the mail and it's like, you know, I gave X number of dollars for this and it looks like this, you know. So just that little warning. Robert Long, you mentioned Clown House. I know of that movie, but I don't think I've ever actually watched it. Um, I know some people that like it though. Hey, Menelect. So we're getting a few more people in here, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and get started here. I'm gonna give that other battery a little chance to charge up a little bit more, and then I'll probably step away and switch them out if y'all can deal with a little bit of fuzziness for just a little while longer. Um, I was trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to bring up before I got started with the movies. I will tell you guys, this has been a bad week health wise for me. The fevers have been vicious this week. I actually decided to, not that you guys need to know this, and it's probably boring to you to hear me talk about my health, but the fevers have been so bad this week that I decided to keep a fever chart in Excel so that when I have to go back to the doctor again the end of this month, I can say, hey, you know, this is the way my fevers have been running. Have you got anything else you can suggest to me to take to help alleviate these? Red, you say mine are It miniseries, Clown 2014, and Gacy 2003. That's interesting too. I like that list. Oh, thank you, Menelect. I've been wishing for that swift recovery for a long time, for like 3 months now. But I thank you for that. X-Ray, you say The Last Circus by Alex de la Iglesia is the movie Joker wishes it could be. And I'm surprised that people didn't mention Joker. Maybe nobody likes it that well. So, you guys go ahead, keep putting stuff in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first of our two movies. And I actually did get to rewatch both of these before doing this stream. So, aren't you proud of me? So, the first one is Killer Klowns from Outer Space, starring Grant Kramer and Suzanne Snyder. John Vernon is also in this movie in a little bit smaller role than he normally is, as like an asshole cop who kind of gets his come up. It's about midway through the movie. And the movie itself is not very long. I think it's like an hour and 27 minutes long. Just under an hour and 30 minutes. It's done by the Chiodo brothers. And I I think this is a fun movie, and getting to rewatch it again before doing the stream allowed me to enjoy it all over again and enjoy it even more in some cases. Um, Steve and I, speaking of Grant Kramer, Steve and I are planning on going to Horror Hound, I believe in Cincinnati, next month, like the second week of the month or something like that. And I believe Grant Kramer is going to be a guest there. And so Steve said, "Are you going to talk to?" He said, "You can talk to Grant Kramer about New Year's Evil," and hell yeah, that's what I'm going to talk to Grant Kramer about. I know a lot of people are going to be talking to him about Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I like him in this movie. He's very good in this movie and very funny. But on that flip side, in New Year's Evil, he is able to pull that. There's something not quite right with this dude off, you know? And so I like seeing him in both roles. But what I'm really interested in talking to him about would be the New Year's Evil role. X-Ray, you say 31 by Zob Romby sucks dick, but Doomhead was a great character. He should have dumped the Running Man story and just focused on a solo Doomhead flick. That's interesting. X-Ray, you say Killer Clowns, if nothing else, is just a great showcase for practical effects. I've talked to people who vehemently hate the film. Really? Wow. I haven't ever talked to anybody that hated the film. Um, Clifton, you say, yeah, fun film. Yeah, that's for all the cheese, because this movie is not made to be taken seriously. I'm sure the Chiodo brothers wanted you to be laughing as much as I'm sure they were laughing making it. This movie is not meant to be serious. And it's only PG-13, but they still had, as X-Ray just said, it's a showcase for practical effects. And I really think that they did a great job with it. It's not overly gory, which I don't think it needs to be. Because I think this is just supposed to be a madcap, goofball movie. And I found myself laughing the majority of the movie, if not all of the movie. Someone else that's in this is Royal Daniel, who is basically a character actor that showed up in a lot of movies here and there. And I liked his very short entrance and exit into the movie. I felt kind of bad for his dog, the dog that disappeared, the bloodhound that he has. But pretty much all the characters I liked. They were all fun. Even John Vernon's character, which, as we all know, John Vernon he pretty much made a career for himself playing asshole characters. That's what he was known for. And I'm not saying he's an asshole in real life, but he's really good at playing that role. Middle Age, you say Killer Clowns was made to be campy. Yes. Yes, definitely. X-Ray, you say not poo. His character, Robert Long, you say his character in Ernest Goes to Camp. Yeah. X-Ray, you say Royal Daniel was great as the drunken magician in Ghoulies 2. I'm playing another hillbilly in Space Invaders. Yeah. See, he was in he was in all the greats. So basically what you have is these clown aliens that come down from outer space in their big top spaceship, basically. And the spaceship is discovered by Grant Kramer and Suzanne Snyder, who are boyfriend girlfriend in the movie. And they go inside it and they're looking around, and then the, things start to kind of get a little bit too weird for them. And then they see these clown alien creatures, and they're like, we're getting the hell out of Dodge. So, and also because they find big things of what looks like cotton candy hanging in one of the rooms in the spaceship. And his girlfriend, Suzanne Snyder, basically says, I've never seen like cotton candy like this. And like, he said, well, of course it's cotton candy. And he kind of rubs his hand across it, and some of it comes off, and you see a dead person's face behind there. And then they get really freaked out. It's like, we're getting the hell out of here. So then the clowns from the spaceship end up coming into town, and they have these little laser guns that when they shoot you, normally it turns you into a big thing of cotton candy. And I'm not sure, there's one scene where it looks like they're maybe siphoning blood from the people from within these cotton candy cocoons. But I wasn't ever really completely sure on that. Yes, Texas Animal House, he played a real prick. And he, as the head of the college, he pretty much was in a lot of scenes, and every scene he was just so sadistic to these guys. It was just on and on and on. And actually, I watched Animal House, rewatched Animal House again not very long ago because I believe Steve got me the Animal House 4K Steelbook. So that was a real treat for me. That was another movie that I grew up watching, was Animal House. X-Ray, you said, looking back, Killer Klowns was perfect for a video game. It even has a giant boss fight with a kaiju clown. Yeah, exactly. And there's clowns of all different shapes and sizes in this movie. I mean, we've had all kinds of space, outer space, sci-fi, like horror and sci-fi mashup type films, you know, the Alien and Aliens films, and you know, different films like that, who went for a more hardcore approach to aliens, and what we were used to seeing. But you know, we have had more lighthearted alien fare in the past. There's been stuff like E.T., which pretty much is beloved by most everybody, except for my cousin Heather, who is terrified of E.T. She's still terrified of E.T. to this day. You know, I think some people make fun of Mike and Me, but I remember being an enjoyable movie when I was a kid. I mean, maybe if I tried to watch it now, it wouldn't be as enjoyable, but when I was a kid, it was highly enjoyable. I believe there was an alien. Am I wrong? Wasn't there an alien in Meatballs 3? Which is generally not. Or was it 2 or 3? For some reason, I'm thinking it was 3. Well, whichever one had the alien in it, it was probably not everybody's idea of their favorite Meatballs movie. That might be the first one with Bill Murray, or it could be on down the line. It could be the fourth one that had Corey Feldman in it. But who knows? Actually, you said the Chiodos are very underrated makeup and prosthetic creators, in my opinion. I agree, X-Ray. I think they did, in everything they did excellent work. X-Ray, you say kind of like Screaming Mad George. Yeah. And it's so sad to me that a lot of I don't hear anything about Screaming Mad George. Is it Screaming Mad George even, still alive or anything? But I don't hear anything about these guys that pretty much built an empire on practical effects. But see, I don't hear anything about the Chiodo brothers either, which it just seems kind of sad to me. And I think I hear Brandon coming back in here. I thought he was going to sleep, but X-Ray, you say they did creature effects for a bunch of shit like Critters and Team America World Police. I ain't seen Team America World Police in forever. Robert Long, you say, oh, that was Meatballs 2, the one with Pee Wee Herman driving the school bus. Okay, I get confused if it was 2 or 3 that the alien was in. Meatballs 3 is the Alien 3 of the Meatball franchise. X-Ray, you say, Screaming Mad George has a channel on here. He posted recently an FX class he does in Japan. That's cool. I'll have to check out is his channel called Screaming Mad George, or is it called something else, X-Ray? But, so let me, I've kind of talked about the plot, but let me just, I'm sorry, my voice may go in and out, but I'm determined I'm going to finish the stream tonight. But I'm going to give you a little bit about the plot anyway. So, finally, the truth about clowns is out. Beneath their smirky, sinister grins and wildly patterned clothes are clever killers from out of this world. The juxtaposition of their toy store arsenal and malevolent intent proves to be a tasty combination. In its killer entertainment that will leave you fearing these big top creatures for good. A spaceship, looking like a circus tent, lands signaling the attack of deviant red-nosed balloon-twisting psychos from another world who plan to annihilate mankind by turning people into cotton candy. Luckily, the town's teen citizenry decides to fight back and teach the cosmic bozos a lesson. But these clowns are no klutz, turning popcorn, peanuts, and caramel corn into a playful but deadly weapons of madcap destruction and mayhem. And that is pretty much, in a nutshell, what goes on in this movie. And if you have not seen Killer Klowns from Outer Space, man, I urge you to pick this one up. I think you can still pick it up on Blu-ray for pretty cheap. I could be wrong, and you guys feel free to call me out if I am wrong on that. X-Ray, you say Mad Club is Screaming Mad George's channel. Okay, I'm going to have to check that out. Texas, you say Screaming Mad George also sang for a New York hardcore band called The Mad. There's videos on YouTube. I'd like to see that as well. See, that's another good thing about talking about stuff with other people. They may know stuff that you don't know. Just like I didn't know that Screaming Mad George sang for a New York hardcore band. It took Texas to tell me that. So, this is the Blu-ray, and it does, in my opinion, look very, very good. I honestly don't know if I saw this in any other version other than the Blu-ray version, because to be totally honest with you, I believe this was a movie that I heard about for a long time and just never watched it. I didn't watch it on VHS, I'm pretty sure. Didn't watch it on DVD, I'm pretty sure. But then I continued to hear about the title, and it just intrigued me. It just really sounded like a fun movie. And it certainly is all of that and more. And you could probably show this movie safely to people that are not big horror fans. And I think they would enjoy it. Now, there's probably a small percentage of the movie watching public They would think it was too goofy for their taste. But I just felt like it was just a fun roller coaster ride. Um, Quick, lots of laughs, lots of fun, lots of madcap adventures. Yeah, I just and I really think I'm not gonna talk about Luther the Geek in depth until we actually get to it here in a bit. But I think having Killer Clowns and Luther the Geek bookend each other, I think that was really good because Luther the Geek's a little more horror than Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and it's a little more hardcore than Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So it's good to have that fun, campy atmosphere, and then you can switch it up and go really dark. Or you could start with the really dark and then finish up your night with Killer Clowns from Outer Space if you want to end on a high note. This is an MGM Blu-ray of this. It does have some special features. You get audio commentary with the Chiodo brothers. I cannot honestly say that I've listened to the commentary. I need to really soon because basically these guys intrigue me. You get not one or two featurettes, but you get 5 featurettes on this. You get the making of Killer Clowns, composing clowns, visual effects with Gene Warren Jr., creating clowns, Chiodo Brothers' earliest films. You get 2 deleted scenes with director commentary, bloopers, an original theatrical trailer, and more. So, if you don't have this, and especially if you've never seen this, I urge you to look on Tubi maybe, see if they've got it. It could be possible it's on YouTube, maybe Amazon Prime. Sorry, I didn't look that up. But, if you don't want to spend out the money, but you're kind of intrigued and would like to watch it, I would try one of those outlets first before you shell out the money for this. But like I said, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do so I don't make a liar out of myself. I'm going to actually look this up on Amazon because I may tell y'all something and then that might not be so. So you can rent it on Prime Video for $3.99. But you definitely can get the DVD for $5.99. But you can get the Blu-ray. I last purchased this March 4th, 2013. So I actually got this before I moved to Louisville and quite a bit before Steve and I got married. Because we didn't get married until August of 2013, and I didn't move in with Steve until like June of 2013. I think probably about this time I might have still been looking for a job in Louisville, but you can buy it probably used at that price, which I don't think that's bad at all. Or you can buy it and stream it anytime for like $15 from Prime Video. But, I would rather go, even if it was the used version. They actually say new from 6 1/4. So you could buy it for 6 1/4 new or used from $4. And both of those are better than $14.99, and you actually get a physical copy to have. So I would probably go that route. So let's see. X-Ray, you say, as a kid, I always passed by the VHS at the local mom and pop. One day I was going to rent it, and my mom, who usually let me rent any horror I wanted, told me to put it back because it looked stupid. Now, that sounds like something my mom and or my dad might say. My dad would probably come closer to watching Killer Clowns from Outer Space than my mom. But then Dad would be more likely to say, like he did about Basket Case or some of the other movies I had him sit through, that's the stupidest movie I ever saw in my life, Dan. X-Ray, you say Dana is demonstrating her hiking skills. Maybe. Clifton, you say, I have the Arrow Blu-ray, had the Midnight Movies MGM DVD, so I double dipped. The Arrow Blu-ray is really good. Can you still get that, Clifton? Because I had forgotten all about that Arrow version till you said something about it. Now I'm wanting to get the Arrow version. Here I am tooting my own horn about having the MGM version when I could have the Arrow version. I think I thought about buying it, and then maybe something came up and I didn't really have the extra money to do so. So if you could let me know if they still have it, I might look into buying it. Probably the Arrow Blu-ray probably looks better than this one. Okay, so y'all feel free to keep talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I know when I do these Cheese Extreme Wednesdays, I don't stay on here nearly as long as I do when I'm talking about a stack of movies yay high. But that's what I like about this Cheese Extreme Wednesday, because it allows me to do a kind of a shorter stream in the middle of the week. You're not sure, Clifton? Well, I'll look into it and see if they've still got some copies available, and if they do, I will certainly purchase it. But like I was saying, I try to have a little shorter stream in the middle of the week. It's hump day, it's the middle of the work week for a lot of people, and that way you're not thinking, oh wow, Dana's going to do another 2 or 3 hour jobby, and we're going to have to sit here and listen to her talk about movies for 2 or 3 hours. So I kind of try to give myself a break and you guys a break too in the process. Okay, so the second one that I'm going to talk about tonight is probably a little bit lesser known. Quite a bit probably quite a bit lesser known than Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And this is Luther the Geek. This might be cheesy, but it's more on the horror side. I got this is the Vinegar Syndrome version of this movie. I just want, before I get started, I'm just curious how many of you guys here in the chat have actually seen Luther the Geek at any point in time. Because this was one, the first time I saw it, I think I rented it. And I think the cover of the VHS tape actually intrigued me enough to rent it. Robert Long, you say Luther the Geek's a crazy movie? Texas, you say, bring out the Gimp. Oh, boy. That's making me want to go watch Pulp Fiction again. So, this actually does have a slipcase on it. And then you have the actual case here with the artwork of where he's getting ready to bite the head off of a chicken. Now, a certain way you look at this, if you're not looking at the head of the chicken, which is practically in his mouth, it almost looks like a rat. The body looks like a rat. If you're not looking at the feet, of course. The feet look like a chicken. And this film is directed by Carlton J. Albright, who, for any of you that are in the chat that have seen The Children, Carlton J. Albright, he didn't direct The Children, but he produced it. I used to get confused and think he directed it, but he produced it. But he directed Luther the Geek. So, Clifton, you say it's not available on Amazon. Well, I might have to check and see if maybe, possibly, Arrow has it on their site, or worst come to worst, maybe, I almost said YouTube, but eBay maybe, if people aren't price gouging it to death. Texas, you say you have this version of Luther the Geek. Have you actually watched it, Texas? I was just curious how many people beforehand, before I even, announced that I was going to be talking about this for Cheese Extreme Wednesday, that you thought, oh, yeah, I've seen that crazy ass movie. And it is crazy. But some people may not think it's as cheesy or cheesy enough for me to put it on Cheese Extreme Wednesday. But this is why I wanted to put it on Cheese Extreme Wednesday. Is because there are little nuances in this movie that I feel like make it a cheesy movie. Now, does that mean it's a bad horror movie? Not in my opinion. Might be in other people's opinion. I don't find it a bad horror movie at all. There are just little bits and pieces in this movie that I think make it a little cheesy. And the main thing is Luther, who we see on the cover there. When Luther was a little boy in 1939, I believe, all the like drunk guys in this little town are going to see the Geek. They're like, Geek, 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 and they got their alcohol and stuff. Well, little Luther ends up mixed in with these guys, and they're all going to see the Geek bite a head off a chicken. And it tells you at the beginning of the movie that pretty much these down and out guys were the ones that they called the Geek. And they would basically do anything to get a little sip of whiskey. And so the big thing I guess people liked them to do was viciously bite the head off a chicken. And then I guess some drunk in this town would give him, here's you a little shot of whiskey for your trouble, I guess. I don't know. So Luther is trying to get up there to see the Geek, and one of the drunk guys bumps him really hard. He falls against some kind of farm implement and busts his teeth out, at least in the front. And then, he acted pretty normal before that, but he's got blood running out of his mouth and he's going like that. And I don't really know how this turns him into Luther the Geek, but maybe there's something wrong with the kid beforehand and we just didn't know. But then the last shot of this scene, you see him going up to the Geek in a cage and them kind of like sharing a moment. Then we fast forward a little bit to Luther Watts. We find out his last name is Watts because actually the last shot of that scene was his mother finding him and telling him she was going to beat him or something, beat the clothes off of him or something. But so then we fast forward to when Luther is an adult. And he's basically been in prison and psychiatric hospitals, and he's just run the gamut. And so there's a group of people that get to vote yay or nay to release these individuals. And there's one guy that really, he pretty much, I guess, says no to everybody. He's like, I don't want to parole these people. And so then you have what somebody would call a bleeding heart or a bleeding heart liberal, because this woman basically wants to parole Luther because she says he's been a model prisoner. He's not causing any trouble. She feels like he's rehabilitated. And the mean guy looks at her and said, "You bleeding heart bitch." And so, that probably wouldn't get said today in a movie. But we're talking about a movie from what, 1988 or so. And Texas, you say, yes, I have. It's fucked in a lot of places. Uh, so, do you mean like the transfers messed up in a lot of places, Texas? Or because I don't know, I rewatched mine today and it seems like, other than the overall quality of it, it's a little grainier than I like. Um, I didn't think that it was. I didn't think it was too awfully bad. But I was just wondering if you were saying that yours was like really had some messed up places in it. Um, oh, the gore. Yes. Where Killer Clowns from Outer Space was like goofy and campy and all of that. Luther the Geek really goes for the jugular in more ways than one. And that's essentially what Luther does when he attacks people. He basically tears their throat out because over time his teeth that got knocked out were replaced with, I guess the best way I could call it is metal dentures. And you see him sharpening them, and it almost reminds me of Freddy Krueger sharpening the knives on his finger glove. And so it it has that kind of like sadistic Nightmare on Elm Street feel to it. Towards the end, and if you had not seen it, you might want to block your ears, walk away, whatever. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, I'm going to continue. Near the end of it, the mother, who's basically tortured during this whole movie, Luther kind of beats up on her, ties her up. She's tied to a bed for a long time. Her daughter gets killed. Her daughter's boyfriend gets killed. A cop that, I don't know about this cop. He acts kind of nice to the daughter when he comes by the house the first time. But when he comes back later, because something just didn't feel right, and the mother has broken free, and she's like, my daughter's dead, and her boyfriend's dead, and like she's understandably panicked, and he tells her to shut up, and I'm like, dude, what is your problem? He was the only character in the movie that I was like, you're not a very good police officer. Um, so, by the end of it, she's seen all these people dead and everything. And so I guess her psyche is pretty much cracking. And she starts making chicken noises at Luther, who starts acting like a rooster, puffing his chest out and going cock-a-doodle-doo and doing all that. And then she shoots him in the chest and kills him. And even after Luther is dead, she's still going, bark, bark. And so it kind of reminds me of Caroline Williams' character just a little bit in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, where she's actually doing the Leatherface dance. at the end of it, because clearly she's seen all this stuff. Her mind is gone. So I think this is pretty much where this woman's headed. She just can't take it anymore because, I mean, she's not going full on chicken at the end, but she just goes like that, and she's kind of screaming and doing the chicken thing at the same time. So that just kind of made it seem similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So I am going to step away and switch out that battery and the light. Hopefully it'll last long enough for me to get done with these movies, but I'm just going to step away for just a second. I'm not going to turn the background on or anything. So we still don't have too much charge left on those batteries, but like I said, I hope it will last long enough for me to get through this other movie. But like Texas said, there is plenty of gore in this to go around. You've got throats torn out. I mean, it's very visceral in these scenes. Luther attacks a woman at the bus stop. And there's something weird about this woman. I don't think she's an old woman. I think she's a younger woman, and they have put makeup on her to make her look old, and a wig and things like that. And so, in a Blu-ray version, you can really tell sometimes when they're really close up. And so when he's biting her throat, because he hands her an egg that he brought from the grocery store. He was actually eating eggs in the grocery store, and it's a Kroger's, believe it or not. I didn't ever know it was a Kroger's until I heard them say Kroger's at some point in the movie. I think it was when one of the cops was gonna come to the Kroger's because they had called the cops from the store because there was a guy in there that was like eating eggs out of the carton and was acting sort of violent as well. So I think that's when Kroger is mentioned. So you can look out for that. I thought that was kind of funny. I believe it's supposed to take place in Illinois because if you notice the cops' patches on their arm, say like Illinois. And I think actually probably the majority of it was filmed in Illinois. So it was kind of, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee. To me, they're all sort of similar. So especially the farmhouse scenes made me feel sort of nostalgic for home, because now I live in a big city. And so sometimes, I didn't ever think I would, but now that I have been in Louisville for 9 years now, I mean, even when I say it out loud, it's like, I can't believe I've been here for 9 years. I can't believe me and Steve have been married for 9 years. And it just seems so strange. And then my mom always told me that I sound like Forrest Gump, don't I? Mama always told me. But anyway, she always told me that the older you get, the faster time goes. And boy, is she ever right. Because 9 years seems like 30 minutes or something. It's just unbelievable. That I can't seem, I still yet can't seem to wrap my head around it at all. But anyway, back to the movie. The movie is, as Texas said, it's fucked in a lot of places with the gore. It certainly is. I mean, it doesn't shy away from the gore. I don't believe any animals were actually, any chickens or roosters or anything were actually really hurt in this film. I hope they weren't. Um, but I did notice, I'm not saying they didn't put their mouth over a chicken's head in some scenes, but when they actually bit the head off, the bottom part, the body part of the chicken did not move. Um, and I would think the poor chicken, if it was getting its head ripped off, I would think it would squawk for all it's worth until it couldn't squawk anymore. I mean, the people certainly, as they were getting their throats chewed out, they I know they really didn't die, but I'm just saying, if a chicken was really getting eviscerated, I would think that for as long as it could, it'd be squawking and kicking and doing all kinds of things. Because, like they said, when you really do slaughter chickens and people cut their heads off. I'm not trying to be real gruesome here because I am an animal lover, but I'm also a meat and poultry eater too, which makes me sort of a hypocrite. But they say that when a chicken gets its head cut off, the body will flutter around and fly up off the ground and flutter and all that for a few seconds before the lifeblood gives out of it, I guess. So that makes me believe that they didn't really hurt any chickens or roosters or anything during this. Um, so, again, I'm going to give you a little bit of plot on this movie. One night when Luther was a boy, he discovered that there was something different about him. He enjoyed the taste of blood. Following in the footsteps of others like him, Luther became a geek, a deranged man who bites the heads off of live chickens in exchange for booze or money. Now, decades later, Luther is about to be paroled from prison and is ready to return to his hometown, fitted with a set of razor-sharp metal teeth and an unquenchable thirst for human blood. Directed by Carlton Albright, the children, Loser the Geek is a bloody and bleak rural slasher featuring gruesome gore courtesy of William Purcell from The Exorcist 3 and Mike Tristano, Evil Dead 2, in what Fangoria called the most riveting splatter film since the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I wouldn't go that far. But I will say it is definitely worthy of a watch. Again, I wouldn't put my hard-earned money down until, I'd watched it and considered whether I would watch it again or anything like that. Texas, you say in Pink Flamingos, there's a sex scene where a chicken gets grabbed and it gets beheaded by accident because it's in between the couple and there's blood all over the place. LOL. Yeah, I think I've seen Pink Flamingos, but it's been such a long, long time. But too, we're talking about John Waters films there, so I think John Waters probably would have done just about anything. Um, so, Vinegar Syndrome presents this 80s horror classic, newly restored from its original 35mm negative and in widescreen for the first time. And Edward Terry, who plays Luther in the movie, is also in The Children, I believe. I believe, actually, several of the people that are in this are also in The Children. And if you do get this version, you do get a DVD and a Blu-ray version of this as well. And a reversible cover which is what is the artwork that I used when I was advertising this. But you can see some of the gore there on the back coming from Luther's mouth there. And there's a little bit of nudity in this, a little bit of sexual activity for you guys that like that, or you gals that like that, that like to see that, or and I'm not making fun of lesbians either, but there may be some lesbians out there that enjoy, the female nudity in this movie. It didn't do absolutely anything for me, but, for somebody it might. That's one of those things, though, that I've always said is not essential for me with a horror film. You can have it or you cannot have it. I can take it or I can leave it. I don't have to have it. Generally, unless it is Killer Klowns from Outer Space or something similar, I do like a little bit of blood and or gore in there, and Luther the Geek really fits the bill on that. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad film. I think some of the Luther-esque things that he does, and the certain way that he maneuvers himself throughout the film are cheesy and campy and all that. But again, the movie's fun. It's gory. I think the music, although generic at times, I think it fits this movie really, really well. I think Edward Terry did a great job as Luther. I think the special effects were great. I mean, look, you had guys that did stuff for Exorcist 3, Evil Dead 2. So, I just don't think you can go wrong with this. Trauma also had something to do with this, which might explain some of the cheesiness from what we know about Trauma. So, you do get some extras on this Vinegar Syndrome release. It is scanned and restored in 2K from the 35mm original camera negative. But again, I will say that this is not nearly as crisp as some Blu-ray releases I've seen. It's a little bit grainier than some. There's commentary with director Carlton Albright, a video interview with actor Jerome Clark, video introduction with Carlton Albright. All previous Trauma extras are included in this. A reversible cover artwork, original theatrical trailer, and then you've got subtitles, English subtitles if needed. Clifton, you say you agree. I have the Vinegar Syndrome. I think that's probably where a lot of people got their own copy of this movie, was when Vinegar Syndrome put it out. I think Vinegar Syndrome makes some of these, campy, really gory movies more accessible to everybody. So I don't fault them at all for that. I mean, the stuff sells. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep putting it out. But I really think, if you're going to watch something that dark, as dark as I feel Luther the Geek is, you definitely should balance it with Killer Klowns from Outer Space or something similar. Just because with me, there's only so much dark I can watch before I have to get something a little bit lighter. And I'm one of the bigger horror fans you would meet. So, you know what, Texas, I think I had that Trauma DVD. I might still have the Trauma DVD, actually. I think I did. But then when this Blu-ray came along, and I'm wanting to say that Steve bought this too. Why? God only knows, because I don't think he's a huge fan of this movie. Um, but perhaps I'm wrong. But yeah, since you brought that up, Texas, I think I am pretty sure that I had the Trauma DVD at one time, and it probably still is back in the back room where my DVDs are at. You guys will not believe how many DVDs I brought from my mom and dad's house to Louisville when I moved. That was probably what I had more than anything, more than clothes or anything else. Um, but I have officially talked about the points that I wanted to bring up about both Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Luther the Geek. Um, Texas, you say sell that slip for $1,000,000. Nobody would probably give me $1,000,000 for it. They might somebody else, but or at least several hundred. Ugh. But I can stay on here a little while longer if y'all just want to kind of just talk a little bit about some different things, or if y'all want to talk about some things maybe that I didn't cover about Killer Clowns from Outer Space or Luther the Geek that you want to bring up. Feel free to do that. I did want to remind everybody again that next Wednesday I will be covering Memorial Valley Massacre and Microwave Massacre, in case you weren't in here earlier and missed when I talked about that. Also, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or around 7-ish, I will be doing a watch along for Haunted Ween, the Kentucky made horror film that was made in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where my brother and my sister in law live, and my nephews. So that will be, I'm looking forward to that. And, who knows what else I may have for the coming week other than Memorial Valley Massacre and Microwave Massacre. You talk about cheesy. These movies are really going to be high on the cheese scale, especially Microwave Massacre. But Memorial Valley Massacre is pretty up there too. Well, Aaron Fry, you got in here a little late, buddy. I was talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Luther the Geek. And then next Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Memorial Valley Massacre and Microwave Massacre. So, I guess as far as what you missed, you may have to go back and rewatch this video. But I'm just kind of taking questions from anybody, suggestions from anybody. We'll just see, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Or if you guys just want me to shut up and get out of here, I can do that as well. But like I said earlier, I was hoping that Dirk would be in here tonight. Because his t-shirt should have arrived today from my Etsy shop. So I was just curious what he thought of his t-shirt. Maybe that's why he's not in here. Maybe he didn't like it too well. Aaron, you want to know what my overall thoughts about Killer Clowns since Steve's silly ass hasn't seen it? As I was saying earlier, I think it's a really fun, campy, cheesy romp. It's got Grant Kramer in it. It's got these crazy clown creatures created by Chiodo Brothers. I mean, you got John Vernon in it playing another asshole character. He plays an asshole cop in this. You've got people being cocooned in cotton candy. You've got people being shot with popcorn guns. What's not to like? But I was telling people earlier that I think this is the only version, this Blu-ray version is the only version of Killer Clowns from Outer Space that I've ever seen, because for some reason this is a movie that I continually heard about over and over and over, but just never watched it. And then I think it was yeah, Clifton brought up that he had the Arrow release. I was like, damn. Now I wish that I had gotten that Arrow release, because for one thing, he was telling me it wasn't on Amazon. So if anybody knows where I can get a copy of the Arrow release, I want to get it now. But I don't really know why I never just said, hey, I'm going to sit down and watch this. And I got this in 2013, in March of 2013 from Amazon. Um, so in a nutshell, Aaron, I would say that I think it's a fun little movie. Got some crazy ass clowns in it. It's got Grant Kramer in it. Um, Although Steve probably laughs at me about this, but I was telling everybody earlier, I said, I think Grant Kramer's going to be at Horror Hound in September. And I really don't want to talk to him about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I want to talk to him about New Year's Evil, which probably blows everybody's minds. Like, why do you want to talk to him about New Year's Evil? Why don't you want to talk to him about Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Now, I'm not saying I won't talk to him a little bit about Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but like I was saying earlier, his role in New Year's Evil is a lot darker, and one of those roles where you take one look at him, it's like something's not right with this guy. In Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it's pretty much straight ahead. He's supposed to be a teenager who's getting his jollies up at the place where all the kids in town go to make out. And so, it's pretty much there's no surprises with that character. I think you get surprises along the way with the character of Derek in New Year's Evil. Clifton, you say, haven't seen Memorial Valley, need to check it out. Yeah, you maybe could see that one on Tubi, YouTube, one of those outlets, if you want to watch it before I actually cover it. Now, Microwave Massacre, Steve still laughs at me over this, about the fact that I paid money for this Arrow release. I was like, well, I just thought it'd be a fun little campy, cheesy romp, and just like, kind of like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, only on steroids. And, it pretty much fit the bill for me. So, yeah, I would recommend Memorial Valley Massacre and Microwave Massacre to anybody. So, Aaron, you said since Steve's silly ass hasn't seen it, are y'all going to be talking about that on the Dead Pit show or anything? Or I was just being curious, not trying to be nosy per se, just curious. But there's a lot of things that either Steve will not watch ever again that he's watched with me, and it's like, I'm never going to watch that ever again. He kept saying that about Terror on Tour for a while, and it's like, we did one regular commentary, we did a video commentary where we were on the screen. We did, I think we did a watch along one night for that. I think I drank a little bit during that, but I didn't get sick, thankfully, but I got a little wasted when we did our original Terror on Tour commentary. And at the end, and near the end of it, when they were having things in the credits like F-stop, I was saying like F-stop meets fuck stop, and all kinds of craziness ensued. But I'm trying not to do that anymore because during the Champagne and Bullets watch along, I got plastered and was sick for 3 days. I was throwing up and everything. And I said, I will never, ever, ever, ever do that again. So I don't really see anybody making any other conversations. So I'm kind of thinking I may have put everybody to sleep. So I'll give it a minute or two more, but if somebody doesn't put something in the chat, I'll probably just go ahead and call it a night and get out of here. For Aaron's point of reference, I was telling everybody earlier that I try to make these midweek things, Wednesday things, a little bit shorter than my other stuff, so everybody doesn't always constantly feel like that I'm talking for 2 or 3 hours. Clifton, you say no, you don't. Is that no, you don't want me to get off of here, or no, you don't have anything else to say or bring up? I notice sometimes people just, I don't know if they're listening to me or I've just lulled them into a coma. Not putting to sleep. Okay, well, good. I think sometimes I do put some people to sleep. I think that I just drone on and on for way too long. Steve told me, he says I go on way too long, and he also told me that my intro was too long, or he hinted that my intro was too long. And I kind of, the other night when I was getting ready to do a show, and my intro was running, and he said, "How long is your intro?" And I kind of bit his head off, and I shouldn't have, but like I said, this week has been kind of rough for me health wise, and that just hit me wrong, and I just kind of snapped at him a little bit. But I know my intro is about 3 minutes 30 seconds or something like that, and some people might think it is a little long, and that might be why people don't come in here until generally the intro is almost over. Other people have told me they like the song, and I guess maybe they like seeing the Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness scenes. But everybody has their own style and all that. I think it would be boring if everybody pretty much stuck to the same kind of format and had the same structure to their live streams. Casey, you say he's telling tales. That's the sauce talking. Really? Oh man. But yeah, I think I'll maybe give it to 9:25, and then I am gonna call it a night for real, or the gummies. Well, when the night that he said, "How long is your intro?" He wasn't even, he hadn't been drinking anything that I can remember. And I know he didn't have any gummies, so he just I guess Steve doesn't mean to make fun. But a lot of times it doesn't bother me, but sometimes if I'm feeling bad or something like that, it really hits me wrong when he says things, because he's talked about, like, I've made stuff over time, like banners and different things, and t-shirt designs, DVD covers, all kinds of different things, and he always says that, or graphics for a website or whatever, back when I was doing Seductive Poison and Blood Type Magazine and all of that. And he always said I stretched my photos. And I'm like, okay. And this is important. Why? Because, sometimes you do have to stretch them a little bit, but I guess he was saying I was stretching them too much. I alter things a lot in Photoshop. He didn't even like let me point over this way, the Evil Dead chick, the new Evil Dead chick little icon at the top of the screen there. Um, didn't like it. He said that it needed to be smaller. He thought my new Dana on Deck thing needed to be smaller. It's just on and on and on. Clifton, you say you wish you had more people here. Well, sometimes I think it would be cool to have, some people have 100 people in a stream or 50 people. But then I think, well, sometimes I'm glad that I have this small core group of people that come to pretty much all of my streams. Because it's a lot easier to talk to a handful of people and keep up with what's going on in the chat with, like I said, a handful of people as opposed to 50 or 100 people. I'm sure that I would miss some people's chat messages if there were that many people in here. In Texas, you say, I have a question. What the hell is a media book? I don't know really how to describe it, Texas. I mean, I've had things show up as a media book. I was thinking my best explanation for that is those things that kind of, the covers weren't as sturdy as like these. That they were more of like a cardboard, like a heavy cardboard. I thought that's what media book was. Perhaps I can find out. Because I have seen things. Now, there's something on High Def Ninja. It says, what is a digibook, media book, digipack thread? So they say a media book media books are essentially the same as digibooks, but are usually taller, DVD sized, and released in Austria, Germany, and sometimes Spain. A digipack may have a book-style packaging but does not contain any bound pages. It can be difficult to determine certain releases, as some digipacks do come with pages and booklets. As a general rule, if the book isn't bound or attached to the cover, then it is classed as a digipack. So, and then a digibook usually has a hard book-like cover with a spine. Anything that contains pages bounded inside can be classed as a digibook. A lot of confusion lies with the Men in Black and Indiana Jones editions because they only have 3 or 4 pages with discs in them. But I believe these should still be classed as digipacks. And this was from January 22nd, 2014. They said, we often have a lot of confusion on the forum about what qualifies as a digibook, a media book, and what is a digipack. This thread will hopefully help members distinguish the differences between these different editions. I will put a few basic examples how we classify them on the forum. If you want to chime in, feel free to post in this thread and voice your opinion. So, let me, for those of you that are interested, let me put the link to that forum in the chat in case any of you are interested in checking that out. But that was a good question, Texas. I kind of wondered, what the differences and all those things were. So if you want to check out the highdefninja.com forum for that answer from 2014, feel free to go check that out on their forum. So it is now 9:27, and I said I'd be off here by 9:25. So it kind of made a liar out of me. But we did have I think we had a decent conversation, guys. And I want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight and hanging out with me for about an hour and a half here, talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Luther the Geek. I hope you guys are able to join me for the Haunted Wing commentary on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that being said, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here, as I always say. And, well, you're welcome, Texas, and thank you for stopping by. And as I always say at the end of these streams, I will see everyone on the flip side. You guys have a good night.